Hey, what's up everybody and welcome. Today I've got something brand new from a brand new company. This is Brave Troop Toys BTT01. They don't actually give this guy a name, just Metamorphic Universe, Deformable Vehicle, blah blah blah. But he is a take on a kind of MPM DLX 30 scaled Rise of the Beast Bumblebee. And he gets bonus points for being our very first 1977 Camaro masterpiece-esque transformable Bumblebee. So, love him or not, he at least gets that credit. So, box is very simple. It's just that on the front, that on the back, and then it just says that. This QR code takes you to Mang Motion's video on Bilibili, but you can of course find that on YouTube. So, there is the packaging, pretty plain and simple. And here he is. And first impressions right out of the box, he looks really good. Now granted, he's not 100% accurate. But he is a really good effort. Let's take a look here. In fact, I will zoom in for you. There's that face. A lot of nice detailing on his eyes and his mouth. We'll move down. Some pretty good details. You got some transparent for the lights. You can see he does have some die-cast in him. He's got a little bit of die-cast throughout his skeleton, and then just all the plastic on him. A little bit of detail there for his abs. And he's pretty good. The wheels should be painted black for his off-road Camaro mode. And I think is what they did is because if you watch Rise of the Beasts, he's in his off-road mode at the end in the big fight. And then he transforms and they give him his earlier non-off-road model from the earlier part of the movie. So then he does have silver wheels, but it's supposed to be those 5-spoke like Krager SS type wheels. So the animation model screwed up on that, and in turn this company just copied and pasted. Got some nice detailing back here for his back, a little bit of gold, some gunmetal gray, a little bit of red back here. You can see some molded detail in the wheel well for the suspension. Not much going on for the door panels. You do have a little bit. This gray panel was loose for me out of the box. It kept popping out, so I had to take my knife and shave out the two pockets where the two slots, and then glue it in once I could get a good fit. It looks like what they did is this was still freshly painted, and they popped it on, and that paint must have been on a little too thick because it didn't seat securely. I don't know. That's a guess. Either way, there he is. And, you know, he does actually pose pretty well, too. Even though he does have a little bit of limited articulation, which we will get to shortly. But for right now, he comes with accessories. He comes with 2 of his little blasters, both of them in a yellow with a gunmetal gray and a little bit of silver, and they have thumbs on both sides, so they can both go on either hand, and he can dual wield if you want. And to do this is pretty easy. You just ball up his fist, have the thumb in the middle, and then you've got this silver tab that'll go into a slot right there on his wrist. Just plug that in, and there you go. The fake thumb covers up the real thumb, the hand sits in there, and that's his blaster. And it looks pretty good. Pretty good. Is it perfect? No. Nothing on this guy is perfect, let's be honest. But it looks pretty good. I'm happy with it. And then he comes with 2 of his, well, I dropped that one, 2 of his swords. And you can see they're either lightly painted or just molded in this gunmetal gray. Got a little bit of a blemish on that one. There you go. A little bit of a blemish. Can't quite tell what it is, but you know what? That is easily solved by just doing this, making it so that it faces inside. And then it just tabs right into the back of his hand. And again, that looks pretty good. So he can go stabbing and shooting people to his heart's content, and he can do stabby with both hands or shooty with both hands, either way. And then he comes to the battle mask, which is painted both in the yellow and the black for the lenses. But that's the thing, is that they painted the lenses black. Now it looks good, nice and shiny and finished. A little bit of molded detail there, but it would have been a little bit better to give him like a transparent blue, or even just paint him like a metallic blue, like his eyes, or red. But you know, hey, it is what it is. And it's got a tiny little magnet right there, and that just magnetizes to his face. You just line it up, and there you go. Just got to make sure the tabs are there and the little pieces by his temples, but there you go. And again, looks really good, especially for this guy being $80 US shipped. Like, I really cannot complain about this guy for that kind of price. Now if he was 100 plus, then I would have a little bit more issue swallowing some of the little issues he has. Like this, they've got outward ratchets. That's the looseness between the teeth. I mean, is that something you're ever really going to notice? No, but it's there. And once you know it's there, you can't really unsee it. So, all the way down to the bottom, this one's tightened up, but this one's still a little meh. But it's got a screw in the back too. You could try tightening it up. I'm not going to bother because it's not that big a deal. But anyway, so we've seen accessories. Let's take a look at articulation. His head is on a ball joint, so you get a little side to side, you get down to there, and only up to there, which is pretty much straightforward. His ears also, you can fold them down or bring them up. That's as far up as they'll go, though. His shoulders, on friction, might be like a mushroom peg. They will do a full 360, you just got to watch the tire, which you can move the tires as you wish as well. I mean, a lot of the promo pictures for this guy showed the tires out like that, which I get it. His tires are supposed to be facing back, but then they just stick out so far. So if you have them like that, it won't get in the way of articulation, but I do think it looks better just kind of tucked up. Just a little bit of a cleaner look. Anyway, here is, you got the ratchet to go out, and you can go about that far before you collide, but this is on a weird rotating double hinge. I'll show you during transformation, and this is just on a regular double hinge. So you can just bring these out. You can bring them out at the same time. If you bring them out one after the other, bring out the back one first. This one, there we go. It was getting, the gray of this shoulder piece was getting caught under the armor of this. But anyway, so if you bring it out, you can get all the way up to there. The joint itself will go up pretty high. And then you can move it back so that it doesn't look that bad for whatever picture you're taking or pose, but you just push it all back down. He's got a bicep swivel. Now, the bicep swivel is limited. Is what they did. I'm going to move all these things out so I can show you. So you've got this piece, you've got this double joint, a screw here, and then the pin here. Well, that interferes. So if you move this up, you can get a little bit better. But the joint, which is a metal joint for this outer shoulder piece, that's right in the way. So you can kind of force it out that far. It's not much of a force, it's just you can feel it gets a little tighter when you go out to that far, but you can only go in that far. That is a bit of a design flaw, having that joint down so far, and because it's metal and it's a joint, you can't trim it or do anything custom. So that's a little annoying. He does have a single jointed elbow. Now, out of the box, he can get up to about, let me see, it was about right there, right? It was less than 90 degrees. put that up so you can see. That was his out-of-the-box elbow articulation. But there's a small piece in here I snipped off, shaved it, and colored it in. And now as a result... Is that double joints? That is a double joint. As a result, now he can get 90. And also, these yellow panels, they just tab on to the arms. So if they pop off, it's easy to tab them right back in. The wrist will do a rotate. But again, you've got armor in the way. So that is as far out as he'll go, pretty much just straight. He'll go down a little bit, but then you're hitting the armor. Right, so his wrist is limited. Thumb is on a single ball joint. Fingers are on 2 pins each. The main pin, they're all together. The second pin is where they are individual. So, not terrible articulation. Could be better, but it could also be worse. So, there's that. He does have a waist rotate. So, and he'll go from there to there before he collides with these hip pieces, but they're also on double joints, so you can slide them down if you want, and he can get a little bit more. The joints for the hips still get in the way, and those joints, a lot of the joints are die cast, and those are no different. And then you see, you know, we can move these hip pieces out of the way if you need to. On a ratchet, he'll kick up to there, back to there, and then if you have the hip piece up, he'll only go out to there, 2 clicks. If you bring it down, he'll come out much further, and you can kind of play with it if you use the rotate too, so it depends what kind of position you're doing. Alright, the knees, they've got a cover down, which is cool, but they've got a lot of bulk, and they don't even go a full 90. Alright, they're just shy of 90. For his feet, they do have a rotate. They're on like a ball peg. They'll also rock in, rock out, some up, some down, and the toes have a little bit of down, not really much up. They get a little bit, but they're just hindered by the design. He does have a cabley design. He is a Bayver spot. So, but there you go for his articulation. And also, before I forget, you can move the doors. You can close them, open them, however you want. I showed you the wheels. The big piece of the doors are on a mushroom peg, so you can rotate these. So you can have those. You can have them straight back. You can have them up a bit. You know, however you want. And also, out of the box, the doors are a little bit more back and off to the side, but I used the double joints they're on. I brought them into this back cavity to tuck them in tighter, and then I spread them out. I just think that looks, that with the wheels, I think that looks a little bit better than the way that he was advertised. So, and it works for me for the articulation I want him to have on my display. I can still get the pose I want with the wheels this close to his shoulders. So, your mileage may vary depending on what pose you want to store him in. But there he is. And one last thing, the silver is pretty much all painted. The black, especially the stripes, a lot of that is painted. The gunmetal, it looks like that's molded. If it is painted, it's just a very light coat, like a powder coating kind of coat, you know, where it's not a lot. The yellow, though, I think at least most of it is molded in yellow. Especially because I see some sprue marks on like the armor pieces and all. But there are some pieces like under here, they really look like they're painted. So he's at least partially painted yellow, but I do believe he's mostly molded in that gloss yellow color. So there you go. And we'll go ahead and do some size comparisons. And first things first, we'll get the Black Apple Prime. Now, him being the 77 Camaro in this mode, he still looks close enough to the 2007 Bumblebee, so here he is next to his leader. I do not have a Bumblebee movie or Rise of the Beast Prime yet. Here is Transcraft Bumblebee, so you can see different movies, but also different companies. Here's Metagate Drift from the last night, and yeah, they're really, really close. If you factor in his back swords and how I have his doors, they're pretty much neck and neck. Head-wise, though, he is a slight bit taller, but I think that looks really good together, personally. I can't say if it's movie accurate, but I just think looking at the two, like, yeah, they look like they're on the same team. They're about to go into battle together. And then here is MP21, so we can get a good old little G1 style Bumblebee in here. Oh, look how precious and little he is compared to the new guy. But he looks good. And then again, I know they're from different movies, but here is Metagate Shatter. Big reason I'm doing this is because in car mode, we're going to see they're about the same size. But there you go. He's coming up to, what, about her waist? And I've just got her standing as straight as possible so I can give you an accurate size representation. Here is Studio Series 100, who this guy does take some engineering cues from. So there you go. Let's get down to transformation. So first thing, I'm going to go ahead and fold up the fists. I already did on that one. Get the thumb down there and just fold up the fingers, which for me, the fingers are very, very tight. But there you go. We'll go ahead and do that just to get that out of the way. I'm going to bring the arms forward, and we're going to come around to the legs. We're going to do the legs first. So just to help with clearance, because I know in a minute I'm going to need it, I'm going to bring these out so they're out of the way. All right, so where to start? Well, let's start with the wheel. Pull the wheel out, disconnect the heel from the inner heel, I suppose. Outer heel, inner heel, sure. All right, lift up on this silver piece, and now we want to untab the body panel from the inside of the shin. So you can just grab it and give it a little rotate. If for some reason that's really tight for you and it doesn't want to release, you can just get under there. There's a tab and slot here. Just get under there with the spudger. All right. So bring that out. Fold this bumper out all the way. And what we're going to do here is we're going to go ahead and rotate this at the ball joint. I'm going to lift up on this side piece, disengage it from the inner part of the foot, and now I'm going to lift up on these panels. I'm going to slide the foot back all the way. It's on a tiny little slider. And it has a screw joint there with a ball joint. So we want to rotate it at the screw joint right now, and we're going to bring the whole thing in. And as you do this, just straighten out the ball joint. Don't get your thumb caught in there like I did. And go ahead and bring it all the way in. There we go. So it'll be sitting nice and straight like that. All right, all the way compressed. Now I'm going to bring this back a little because I want to get this silver piece underneath here. And you can kind of, there we go. You've got a little bit of outward movement on the joint. So get that out. Then we'll rotate this down. And we're going to rotate this down all the way. And give this a rotate at the same time to clear everything. And then you've got a slot here in the back of the car. You can't see it on camera, but it is there. And there's a tab on the bumper. Those are going to meet up, and you've got two tabs and slots here. So go ahead and get all that together, and it helps if you rotate this big piece, rotate it into the outer piece. Get those 3 tabs and slots in the middle first, and then you can worry about the one on the bumper if it doesn't locate itself. There, you just pull out on the bumper ever so slightly to get that to line up. All right, and then for the wheel, you can push it in. There's a very, very small slot for a very, very small tab on the metal hinge. You just clip that together. Lift up on the shin guard and rotate the silver piece all the way in. And it has a peg there for the hole in the center of it. So there you go. And at this point, we've already made sure the foot is all the way in. I'm going to go ahead and bring this down. And you have a tab here for a slot here. Go ahead and get that connected. And you may need to give it a little bit of wiggle. For me, it constantly hits back here when I do this, but then once it tabs in, it's perfectly fine. So just give it a little bit of a wiggle, make it work. Make sure your knee is still straight. And at this point, we can go ahead and get this back down to where it should be. All right. And let's do the next leg. Same exact thing, just in reverse, or mirror image. Bring the wheel out. Separate the inner foot, separate the heel. Bring these panels back a little bit. Rotate. Lift up on the silver piece. Separate the body panel from the inner part of the shin. There we go. Get that out. Bring the bumper piece out. I'll go ahead and bring the silver piece down now, and then we'll bring the body up. We're going to rotate at that screw joint, get it all over. I'm going to go ahead and push the foot back as far as it will go. And then keep rotating to get that lined up. Rotate the fender backwards, and then start rotating the top of the body. And then get all these tabs lined up, these three first, then pull out ever so slightly on the bumper, get that lined up, bring this down, and get the sail panel tabbed in. There we go. And now we can go ahead and join the two back halves of the body. You've got a tab and a pair of small posts back here, and then a tab up here for corresponding slots. And you just squeeze that all together, and then we'll lift up on the shin guard, move the silver piece in, close that, and tab the wheel in, and we'll go ahead and fold this back into place. And that is pretty much it for the back of the car. For these two pieces, they are on their own double joints, and what we're going to do, we're going to lift up on them, and we're going to rotate them inwards on themselves so they're sitting like that. All right. So now that we've got that out of the way, let's see where to start next. Well, we'll go ahead and close up the doors. I'm going to bring them out. I'm going to rotate them a little and bring the tires out. And I want to bring these back. And I want to fold down on this inner panel. All right, show you the same thing on the other side, but from the back. There's that double joint. Here's that panel. And there we go. All right, next, I'm going to untab this from there. And it has a double joint, and I'm going to just bring it down. Oops. There we go. Bring it as far down as it'll go, because we want to be able to get that out in a second. Now we're going to lift up on these two yellow pieces on the side. There we go. And you want to separate the ab portion. It's just the single tab going into a slot, nothing special. So there you go. And now is what we're going to do. Fold down his ears. We're going to bring the front of the car out. You can straighten out these middle panels. Just try and get a little bit of clearance here. Said try, I didn't say it's going to happen. There we go. And we're going to lift up on this. And his head should pretty much go right in. Now at the moment, we also need to get the windshield out. So, and this is one thing I wish we had a little bit of better clearance on. There we go. Because you're kind of forcing these lights past the double joint for this. Not a huge fan of that. And while we're here, we'll go ahead and flip these lights as well. There we go. All right, and we'll come back to that. We got this out. Let's go ahead and keep lifting the body up. You got to get his head in here. Okay, and what is hitting? Ah, of course I did forget about that. So these doors here, these double hinges, yeah, they actually stick out a little. They will prevent the hood from rotating. I forgot about that. But you see, that's why I'm doing this, to show you so you can do it the right way. So there we go. Head is underneath the car now. I'm going to pull out on these two sides of the windows. All right. And it may not stay tabbed in. However, I am going to go ahead and you've got this big slot here for these two tabs here. Let's go ahead and get that plugged in. And you do have to make sure that your waist rotate is straight for this. There we go. All right, I got that in. These panels just go off to the side. They're going to be for the doors. And this, you can fold in the yellow pieces and just tuck that in. You've got two slots up here for two tabs at the front of the roof. You can try to plug that in now, but I can almost guarantee it's going to come undone as we continue to transform. But we'll do it just so we can locate it. I'm going to come up here. And I'm going to lift up on the front of the car. Bring the bumper out and straighten it out. And then split the front just a little bit, just angle them outward so you can get this up past, and then close them up. Is it closed? It's acting like it doesn't want to close up. Okay, I think we got it. Go ahead and bring this down. You've got two tabs here, the big ones. Then you got two on the side, and then this piece is just going to slot in right there. Go ahead and get it all compressed down, and this is how you're going to know if you got everything up here lined up, because it's going to seal everything up. Those two big tabs lock this down. The two small on the outside lock these in place, and then this one just kind of locates the front. So there you go. That's all lined up. Now we're going to do the arms, which is easily the most annoying and most... it's the most difficult part of the transformation, but it doesn't really mean it's difficult. It is annoying, though. That's an absolute. So is what I'm going to do. What helps, all right, is we're going to take these door pieces and we're going to fold them in on their double joints. And the point of this is for clearance. So you don't really have to, but I like doing it. Now it's almost flush here, so I can bring the wheel back as far as it'll go, right? And you can kind of play with the angle a little bit. But the big thing is the hinge for the wheel is in the way of this back shoulder piece. So we got that. Open up the doors all the way so you can try and have this, you know, in as flat as possible, right? So you've got this friction hinge that's going to rotate inward. And then you've got the ratchet joint that you need to play with as well. I'm going to take the outer armor and slide it down on the double joint. And then at that friction hinge, I'm going to bring it in, I'm going to rotate at the ratchet, and there we go. So this is the piece that is annoying as all get out. So I'm going to rotate it. I'm rotating it at the screw hinge, the screw joint for it right now. Here, let's go the other way. Going that way, it hits the screw for the other shoulder piece, but there we go. Rotate it that way. Then I'll rotate it up. Come on, come on. A little bit of wiggle, a little bit of wiggle. And then there we go. This is how we got it so far. I'm going to bring this black piece down and all the way back as far as it'll go. I'm going to bring the wheel forward just enough. And now I'm going to tab it in. It's going to tab into the front here, and then there is a slot right in here for a tab right here. And that is what we are going to get lined up right now. And at this point, you should be able to get everything lined up if you have the shoulder positioned right. And then we'll bring the wheel in a little bit and leave it there. We'll leave the door out. Let's do the other side first. So again, on the friction hinge, we'll start to bring it down. We'll bring this shoulder piece down for clearance. Ratchet that up. I'm going to push this, rotate it. There we go. Rotate it this way. Okay, there we go. This is a good example of if something feels like it's hitting, pay attention, give something a little wiggle. Don't force anything, because you've got a screw that attaches it to the shoulder, but then this is just a pin. And that is the part that's scary. All right, then we'll bring the wheel a little bit forward. We'll go ahead and bring this in and tab it in appropriately. It should tab together pretty well. We can go ahead and get the other door out of the way, make sure they're both out of the way, and fold the car all the way up before we finish with those fenders. There we go. Try and get everything where it needs to be and see if that helps line up. There we go. That one's in. This one I did get. Gonna bring the arms down. Gonna bring these pieces back up. And the wheels, they have a small slot on the armature for this. So just tab them in. They should locate by themselves. And then last thing, the doors right here, slide them forward on those double hinges, and they're going to tab into the back of those fender pieces. But you also have this that needs to fit in that notch. So make sure that goes in place. Slide that forward. Do the same on both sides. Come on, there it is. A little bit more, okay, and up on that. There we go. Okay, make sure the door is closed up, and we should be able to rotate it in. You have a tab right here that goes into where the door latch on a real car would be, and then two ports up here for two posts in the window. So go ahead and rotate it in. Get the big tab first. and then the ports should auto-locate, but if not, once you have the tab in, it'll be a little bit easier to locate them if you need to. And then same thing over here. All right. And now let me make sure I finished the arms, make sure they're all the way down. I have them fisted, balled up as a fist right now. You can bring the fingers out, bring the thumb out, and get it a little bit flatter. It's not by much, it's a hair. But you can do that, and it doesn't seem to make a difference, because even if you have them balled up, they're still going to have ground clearance, and they're going to be able to roll perfectly fine. But looking at everything, I do believe we're done. Yep, there we go. Everything a little squeeze, make sure it's all sitting right. There we go. So there's the side, the front, the top, the bottom, and you can transform him with his battle mask on. I have tried it. It may come off, but you can put it back on if you want for storage. And then there's the back. Let's get you out of the way. There you go. And look, he looks pretty good. He is not perfect. All right. One thing in point, these back black fender pieces, yeah, they're all the way out as far as they'll go, but they just don't want to fully sit in place. They're pretty much held in place by the friction of it. But there we go. On my copy, everything stays tabbed in pretty well. You do have a little bit of gaps up here. I cannot seem to get those gaps to go away. But other than that, he rolls, which is pretty good considering his arms and legs are pretty much just hanging out down there. You got visible head syndrome, you know, pretty much visible robot syndrome, let's be honest here. But again, they took a lot of design cues from the Studio Series 100. So there's the front, the side, the back. The back looks really clean, and because of the silver, whether unintentional or not, it kind of looks like a pair of exhaust pipes. Pretty cool. And then the top. Looking at things, we got a lot of the transparent. You got some silver up here for lights, silver up here for lights, orange for the marker lights. The stripes are absolutely painted on. And then you got the paint back here for the window. All the paint detail back here for the lights in the back of the car. But then again, the yellow, it's either a light coat of paint or it's just molded in a shiny plastic. It's hard to tell. So, but he does look good. I actually like the mode. He is a little big, depending on who you're posing him next to. He's the same size as Medigate Shatter, and we'll see that in a second. But you do have weapon storage. So you can tab the blades into the back of the guns, use the slot farthest forward. Alright, and then you've got this yellow tab, and that will go into the tab right here, or slot right there. Just tab that in, and there you go, you've got your weapon storage in car mode. So there's that. It's not elegant, but you know, it kind of works. Kind of like Ironhide. I think his NPM was something similar, how the weapon's just stored on the side. Hey, it's a vehicle attack mode, right? Reminds me of Vigilante 8 back on the N64 and Sega Dreamcast. Then his mask, you could technically transform him with it on, and you could also just put it onto his face now if you just want the storage. It is a magnet, so of course it's not going anywhere. So, there you go. Now we'll get a couple of size comparisons going on here. And let's go ahead and start with the Bumblebee squad first. So here is Transcraft Bumblebee. Super huge, monster truck compared to him. And here is MP21 G1 styled B, and again, massive compared to him. Might as well be a semi-truck. Then here is Studio Series 100B, and again, you can see a lot of design influences from him to him. Looking at it like that, not too much. They both look like they're after the same model. But then you look at the underside. Yeah, get out of there. Head's in the same place, arms are in the same place, legs are in the same place. The feet, get this. The feet are in the same place. I mean, they even transform pretty similarly. So, I'm not bothered by it, but it is a little funny. But then next up here is Mitigate Drift. So you can see how tiny, really how big he is compared to other average carbots. And then Mitigate Shatter, and this is the one that actually sizes up really, really well. They actually go together, oddly enough. Weirdest thing. Not only do they size well together, but I mean they both look good. They're both off-road muscle cars. Yeah, I don't know how, but yeah, somehow they go great together. And then finally, here is the Black Apple Prime, so you can see roughly how they go. And if I recall, the truck would be roughly, what, 27 feet, 29 feet in real life, and the Camaro should be about 21. So honestly, that's not a bad size comparison. Now granted, he's taller than he would have been in the 2007 movie, because he would have been the regular on-road Camaro, but still, I mean, you know, width and length-wise, he doesn't look bad. So, I know Toy Boy is coming out with a B. Their alt mode looks, other than the bull bar and the roll cage, their alt mode looks closer to the 2007. It's got the correct rims and it looks like it's a little lower to the ground. Maybe that one will scale better here. We'll see. But that is really it for his vehicle mode. And only other thing I will say is, you know, I recorded this on different days. It turns out that so his wheels should be black, his roof should be blank, according to the movie car. And then really the stripes, they should come up a little bit further. They should be a little bit closer together here and a little bit farther from the fenders here. So just cinch them in a little bit and make them a little longer. Other than that, they've got the car mode down. That's other than that, from the pictures I could see, like there was the one picture I found on Google where it's like all the Autobots together in the field. It looks pretty close. The stripes are really the only big thing that I noticed. So, hey, pretty good accuracy, you know, and honestly, I think I could probably paint these tires. They're a very hard rubber, but I bet you I could mask them off and just paint the centers. And then this would be a really good alt mode representation. So when Toy Boy comes out in supposedly the summer of 25, we'll see how true that is. If I end up liking that vehicle, the robot mode better, I can keep this guy in alt mode, keep that one in robot mode, and there we go. Got both versions of them. So, but there is his vehicle mode. So there is Brave Troop Toys BTT01 Rise of the Beast Bumblebee. And before I say my final thoughts, first thing, I did check the CGI model in between my editing here, and he is pretty accurate. His arms come down as low as they should. Everything looks like it's in the right place. So honestly, he does look pretty accurate to the CGI movie. If you bring his shoulders up a little bit, where it looks like they're coming out of the fenders, then you get the arm length and his like hunched up look that he has. Also, I did forget one piece of articulation. His wrists can move in. That's how I had him. You can move him in, and that allows him pretty much a 360 rotation. So, there we go. So now, with that, final thoughts here. So overall, not a bad first attempt either at a masterpiece-esque Rise of the Beast Bumblebee. And not a bad first attempt from this company. It's not perfect. These shoulder pieces that you saw in the transformation, those are terrible. They really, if they are at least screws on both ends, it would help a little. But again, just a little bit of clearance would have helped. The articulation could be better, especially in the knees. I had to trim off the piece of plastic to get up to 90 in the elbows, and then your bicep swivel is really limited. So yeah, they could have improved on the articulation a bit, so they have room to go. For a first attempt, it's really not that bad. A little bit of cat hair there. It's really not that bad. Overall, other than the shoulder bit, the transformation is pretty decent. It's pretty intuitive if you've played with the Studio Series 100 Hasbro figure. And even if you haven't, like I said, without the instructions, I was able to figure it out. I think there is only one step, and it probably was those shoulders, where something just wasn't going right, and I had to check a video of one of the early reviewers to make sure I was doing it right before I broke something. So, but other than that, I mean, it goes pretty well. The paint that is there looks pretty good. I've got that one blemish on the hood. That's it. The accessories, I like what they give us, you know, the 2 guns, the 2 swords, and the mask, so you've got options. I like those. And overall, this guy gives me a pretty good impression of the company. So I am looking forward to their Optimus, BTT02, which I believe it's going to be out toward end of January, maybe February. We'll see, and hopefully that's a good one. And if it is, then I'll keep an eye on the company from here out, depending on what they're going to do. And if they end up just doing the 2, hey, that's fine. You know, at least I'll have a Rise of the Beast Optimus and Bumblebee, and I'll be happy with them. And then when Toy Boy comes out in the summer of 25, supposedly, I'll get that and I'll compare the 2 of these guys and see which one I prefer. And I'll probably do an actual video comparison to help the rest of you see what's what and who's who and differences and all this and that, right? So, but anyway, that is Brave Troop Toys Rise of the Beast B. Overall, I'm pretty pleased with him, even with his little minor issues. So there you go. Thank you for watching, and I hope to see you next time. See ya.